Welcome to another episode of the Not Your Average Auntie podcast, where we keep it real, raw, and relatable while sharing our opinions and experiences
and feelings,
and want you to join in on the conversation.
Yes.
It's important for you guys to join. Before we get started, it is important for you guys to not only just watch, but please share and like. We see you guys do chime in on the comments. We love it. But take the time, if something resonates with you, share it.
Leave a comment.
Most of you guys have been doing that, but the more you do it, the more if you don't know how the algorithm works, it's like you gotta keep sharing. Right?
We want to grow. We want you to grow with us.
Want to suggest us, and we are building a little community, which we like you to do that.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. So what are we talking about today, ladies?
Test driving the equipment before diving in and commit. Now, when we say equipment, what are we talking about?
The whole package.
All right. So go ahead. You said test driving equipment.
Test driving the equipment before we commit.
Yeah.
So, what happened?
No. I just want to make sure you good.
Oh, no, I'm good.
Before you commit. First of all, I'm not sure who came. So y'all don't know this, but we come up with these topics, right? And we usually vote on them and everything. So I'm not sure who came up with this topic, but what did that person mean by test driving the equipment? I think I know what you mean, but I don't know if it's in the literal sense or if it's in the holistic package sense. I'm not really sure. So
I would say, to me, it gotta be holistic, because you're not just test driving the equipment. Equipment is everything that comes with it, right?
But the equipment is the important part.
No, it's just part of it. It's part of it. But if we want to talk about specifically for women and or men entering a relationship, just put it on the table. Do you sex before marriage? Test drive your equipment to see how you like it.
Yes.
What do you think about that? Or should you just wait for marriage and see the cards you are dealt?
I think culturally, there's certain cultures where that is the case. Where for women specifically, not necessarily the men in those cultures, but for women, they are meant to not test drive and they just get what they get and they better not be upset. Or they make it wild.
But how could they be upset? They don't know what they have. They don't know what they don't know.
True. But there's the thing, like, you don't know what you don't know, but what if you get it and you're like, is this what it's all cracked up to me? So, I mean, there's you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So you may not have something to compare, right? To, but there are women that are like, they can't stand the act of it, but they do it as of duty. And I'm talking about specifically for women in certain cultures. Not even in their own man, even in the marriage, certain, just depending on your background and depending on how open you are.
I think the connotation of it being a duty is what make it so, like, make you have disdain for it. Yeah. Like the fact that you're being told that this is what I have to do with my body to please my said husband because of this culture. It could, I would think naturally when you're told you have to do something that you don't know if you're going to like it or not, that you're going to go more towards the not liking it than liking it. I would think.
Could, perhaps. So I mean, my theory on it, and again, I don't come from the culture of, you betrothed to someone. That's not my background, but I don't want to disrespect that culture because that is something that they do strongly.
Right. Yes.
So, but my belief is that you should test it out. Now, equally, there are people that are Christians and they're heavily Bible thumping that believe that you do not do that. Yes, I believe in God, but I just have certain beliefs. I'm like, I think for me, the way I grew up, what I believe in, you should test it out, because what you don't want to happen is that you commit yourself to somebody that it just doesn't work. The chemistry is just not there, and it just causes downstream effects that you're not going to be happy. So I just believe that you both need to be happy with each other holistically.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, I think testing comes from a holistic perspective. You got to understand what their beliefs are. You have to have an idea of the things that they want to do in life, who they are as a person, and what they're working with. To see if it works for you. So yeah, I think test driving the equipment is okay. I don't think it's a bad thing. And for those who choose not to, that's okay as well, because that's your prerogative to do so. But I'm with Key, and I believe that you should know what you're getting into from all perspectives of relationship.
Oh, trust me, I believe full agreement with the both of y'all.
Yeah.
I could not just date somebody for a few months and then be married to them and not know what I'm getting into. too.
And like you said, the holistic piece, right? Living together, you know, because you get to learn about the nuances of that individual,
And mannerisms,
all of that stuff, right? So things that they, you know, it's like that veil is lifted from when they're just like picking you up, taking you out, versus when you're there and you can see, you know, do they just take the clothes off and leave it right there on the floor,
or they're in the toilet seat up,
or all those things, right? So I mean, you know, that's just I believe that.
Yeah.
But the other side to this topic was the, you know, just talking about the upside and or downside of being with one person your entire life. Yeah. So let's talk about that. Because I think that, you know, some people, like I said, culturally, they have to be with that person. Well, not have to, but they stay with the person that they're betrothed to. And other people, they kind of, that's not the case.
I think the only downside of being with somebody for your entire life is if you're unhappy. And that,
yes.
If everything is good and golden and going swell,
then you're getting everything that you need from this person.
That is, to me, that is honorable, is magical. I would love to see it. I mean, I know it happens, but I think it's a beautiful thing if you can be with one person your whole life because you guys are
meant to be together. Yeah.
Y'all meant to be together, then hey, I'm all for it. But if you're not and you're not happy and you're staying because you have to stay, that's a horrible experience, I would think, for anybody. And it's unfortunate for people who are in those types of situations.
Yeah, I agree. I think also too that when you're with someone, and listen, so when we talk about this, I mean, it could go a number of different ways. Not just two people that haven't had the experience of being with other people. That's one way of thinking of it. But then there's another way where you have had experience, but then the longevity of a relationship. Right? So if you've been with someone for a million years, but you dated before, there's something to that too. I think the two things there when it works, is that it enables you to have a deeper connection with the individual versus sometimes these fly-by-night relationships that you just can't get the connection. Maybe it's
or even learn yourself. Because you're not getting a chance to know what you actually like or dislike because you're jumping around.
Yeah.
So yeah, I do think long-term relationships definitely have benefits. And, you know, it's not to say jump ship the minute things don't work out. What I'm saying is you don't stay there if things are not getting better.
Yeah.
If you can work through the trouble sometimes, that's great. I think that makes the relationship stronger when you work through those things. But if you can't find your way out and past those things, then I say don't stay in something that's not benefiting you or them because you're wasting each other's time when you can be out there with the person that's really meant for you.
So now, I always got to throw a monkey wrench in. So what if you've been with someone for so long, but then curiosity kind of creeps in?
That's because something to me, something had to happen that now you become curious. Curiosity doesn't come because something didn't trigger.
Curious in what way? You want to date someone else, or you just curious about?
Yeah, if you've been with someone for a million years. Okay, let's say you've been with someone for 5 years, right? And you're like, this is cool. You might even have gotten married. Okay, you married 5 years. You were together for 3, so now totaled 8 years. So you passed that 7-year itch. But then you get curious. You're like, gosh, I just wonder.
They don't come out of nowhere.
I agree. It comes because something in that foundation broke.
And then something came along and tickled your fancy. Or something came along and tickled your fancy, and now you started finding issues that you didn't have before or wasn't acknowledging. They probably was there, you just wasn't acknowledging.
Well, that's what I said. I still think it's the foundation.
Yeah, I agree.
It wasn't as strong as you thought it was. Yeah. Because it's
something shouldn't shake your foundation if it's solid.
And I think it don't matter who's tickling.
Exactly.
But if you got a strong foundation, you're not
paying attention
to that.
Yeah.
Because you know what you got.
Right.
It's like people could be throwing you the whole, trying to get it. You're like, because you don't even know. You're not, what? I mean, to see you. Like, so it's that means that the foundation was not as strong as we thought it was. And that's how I think that curiosity.
Well, it was never strong to begin with.
It wasn't. But sometimes, you don't know what you don't know because everything's like, it's so beautiful. Nice. And we love each other. Yes. And then to your point, someone's like, hey, it shows you something. And or there's like that electric energy that happens and you're like, well, what was this? You know, and then you realize your foundation was not as strong as you thought.
Yeah. But do you think that how long does the honeymoon phase last? You talk about that old soul and love thing. That don't last like for years, right? That honeymoon phase usually trails off within 6 months to a year in a relationship. You start to see the real person start to show up sooner. They don't show up 4 and 5 years later. So
no, you hope the real person shows up. But what I mean is like, even that, oh my gosh, we're in love. Like that is, you can get that feeling.
It should always be.
It should
always be there.
Yeah. Like even if you get a text from them throughout the day, that just makes you feel warm inside. You know, like, oh,
that's never gonna die, Anna.
That should not. If you're still,
but it does happen sometimes. Do you think sometimes, like, I won't say that you're not in love with your person and that things are detrimental and you're on the edge of breaking up, but there are moments like when you're going through certain things, certain emotions that you're having within yourself that kind of trickles into the relationship, and it makes you feel like maybe you're not as confident as you were in the very beginning. Like something's happening, but it's not to the point where you're breaking up, but you're not having that love you. Okay. Like, we talk about times like maybe you have birds and all that, those kinds of things. So, but those, if like you said, if you have a solid foundation, even in those moments, nothing's going to break that. No, you're not going to always have happy.
No, you won't be like a time like you're walking around like smiling and everything. That's just not realistic.
No, yeah.
But like I said, what you just said and what you said with the curiosity piece, it ain't gonna fly if you are solid, right? You know. So I think some people think they're solid, but they're not as solid as they think.
Yeah. So do you think there are downfalls to testing and driving?
No, because that eliminates time wasted.
The only downfall I can see in that is if you're doing too many test drives.
I think if you're not being careful when you test drive, you have to make sure that
every opportunity is not meant to be test driven. Every car that comes down the runway is not meant to be test driven.
Yeah.
You gotta be very selective.
You should be selective.
Because that's almost endangering on the society's norm that a woman can't do the same thing that a man does.
Well, the reality is a woman. Okay, so now we're gonna go down the path.
Yeah.
Depending. No, seriously, you can't, because there's certain things listen, a man is a man, a woman is a woman.
Yes.
Okay. I do believe that, I believe in that we should be able to date. Women should be able to date. I don't believe a woman should be looked at as, a whore or too fast or whatever if they decide
because she remains to stay single. Yes.
No, not even remains the same. Not even that piece, but just if she wants to date multiple partners until because a man is not looked at negative in that way. But I just want to be careful when you say that society thinks, a woman can't do what a man can do, because there's instances where there's certain things that we're just not made up to do. You know what I mean? So it's harder for us to do.
Yeah, the ramifications behind it.
But there's a possibility it can happen that we are able to do. I mean, we're not emotionally as attached.
And when you talk about relationships, there are women that are not emotionally. There's a small percentage. I don't even want to say small, but it's not as vast as other women that easily get attached emotionally when we're talking about like sexual activities. But there are women, is just less percentage of us that can do it and not be emotionally attached. I agree with that. That exists.
Okay.
But I think that we just need to be careful on how we phrase up what a man can do and what a woman can do, because like there are certain things, just like there's certain things that a woman can do that a man cannot do. So I like to give equal opportunity here, Okay, just saying, but I think to your point, like if you test driving too much, there's nothing. I mean, what car wears down, baby, you wearing your car down. Where the tires, you wearing down. You need to check out for things. The carbonate spark plugs are gonna be dog. Gotta chill, you know.
Yeah, I just don't think you will learn anything if you're just constantly test driving and not going a little bit deeper and further and exploring what could potentially be. So if you're just out there test drive everything that come by, what are you gaining from that? So I think that's the downside to me. I'm not saying if you doing it with intentions of to intentionally date this person or that person, but if you're just out there just willy-nilly out there testing everything that comes in your path,
then that's not test driving. That's just sampling.
Same thing.
No, it's not.
What's the difference between
Test driving is
go a couple of rounds.
yeah, and you're trying to see if it's gonna go somewhere versus just sampling. It's a one-nighter.
Sometimes
You see something you like.
Sometimes the test drive turned into a one-nighter because that test drive was just done. You was like, I'm done.
But I don't know. You sit there and I said,
You planned on it. That was your plan. But then when you got to it, you was like, nah, this ain't working out. We ain't trying this no more. So that turned into a sample. I'm just saying, by your definition.
no.
I'm just saying by your definition.
Well,
So do you think there's people who are in long-term relationships never deciding to get married? Is there a negative connotation behind that?
negative connotation?
Not negative connotation. I should say negative. Do people think that that's why are they doing this? Why are they just going to just jump the broom and get married? They've been together for all these years. They doing all the things that married people do.
Some people just don't believe in marriage.
or they don't believe in the actual paperwork that's needed.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
They don't, for whatever reason. I mean, I can't listen. People maybe, and it could be subconsciously their parents didn't work out, so they just get scared that that'll jinx things. Or I mean, there's such a variety. There's so many variables as to why they don't been there, done that, ain't doing it again. They ain't doing it again. You know, so there's just so many. So my thing is you got to do what's right for you. Where it goes wrong is where you have two parties, but then one party's not being real about what they really want. Like they actually want to get married, but they be putting up a front like, oh no, I'm not gonna, because maybe he always was like, talked about it like, I don't need it. And then deep down in her soul, she wanted it, but she's just going along with it because they've been together but she really wants it. So I think that's when it becomes a problem. Same thing with kids. When you add kids to the equation, when you have a couple that, he may not want kids. Right. So then she went and she says, okay, I'll go along with you. I don't want kids. And then your biological clock starts ticking and you're like, wait a minute, maybe I do want kids. And now you weren't true to yourself. So then it can cause a problem. So I think the main thing out of all of this, whether you in any relationship, you need to just be open and honest with what you and also be honest about how your opinion may change, because maybe you didn't want kids and maybe you were down with that. And all of a sudden, maybe I changed. Yep. Same thing with the marriage. Maybe she didn't want to get married and then she starts seeing all her friends and she's participating in being a bridesmaid all the time. And she's like, well, damn it, when's my turn? So it's so many different variables. Like I don't care whether they do it or not. If none of that bothers me, my thing is just be honest.
Yeah. So there's a couple of fun facts I got out of this topic. They say, I got two statistics. One says 56% of Americans say they have lived with their partner before marriage. This is from the Pew Research. They say long-term monogamous relationships have been shown to increase life expectancy. I do believe that. Partnership, they say divorce rates are actually lower for couples who wait. That's interesting.
Because they can love themselves more better.
Yeah. That makes sense there. Yeah. Cute little fun facts.
I think I like it. I mean, listen, I personally think, I don't know, do you have any other additional points you want to share on this topic?
No, I just think do what makes you feel good. Just take care of yourself. If you want to test drive a couple of things before you lock in on one person, I say go ahead. You get to know who you are and what you like and don't like. But if you choose to wait until that one person come along, I still say make sure you know who you are, what you like and you don't like. So when that person come along, you can express that and hopefully they're on the same page as you.
I agree wholeheartedly. Be open and honest, man.
Honesty is the best key.
What do they say? Honesty is the best policy.
And if you're out there test driving, let the people know you're not the only one that I'm talking to, so they don't think that they the only one.
I mean, that would be the best thing to do, but people don't do that.
Yeah, really don't do that.
Can't handle it. That is true.
That's the unfortunate part. I like to know what I'm getting into.
I don't know, but everybody's not that mature to want to know. They want to be, make up stories.
So join in the conversation, people. Let us know. Did you test drive? Are you against test driving? What's your advice? What's your thoughts? Let us know.
Yes. Till next time.
All right.
Cheers.
Ah.